Imagine if you could take 4 months to travel to the countries that you've been dying to visit and also take a road trip without losing your job or having to win the lottery. Well, that's exactly what my guest in this episode of the podcast was able to do. She's not independently wealthy. She didn't invest in GameStop, but she was able to take her family on a road trip and spend a month in El Salvador and another full month in Ecuador. And oh, by the way, travel across the country in the process before she reached retirement age. Do you want to know how she did it? Make sure you listen to this episode to find out. Vamos a empezar. Let's get started.
Bienvenidos! Welcome to the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast, the show for Spanish learners that love music, travel, and culture. Close your grammar textbooks, shut down the language apps, and open your ears to how Spanish is spoken in the real world. Let us show you how to go from beginner to bilingual. Here is your host, certified language coach, Tamara Marie.
Hola, bienvenidos al episodio 129. Welcome to episode 129 of the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast. In this episode, I had the pleasure of interviewing Melissa Neacato from Traveling Wallet. Now, Melissa did something very unique. Her and her husband decided to take their family of 4 on a 4-month mini retirement that included a road trip, spending 1 month in Ecuador and another month in El Salvador. She decided to take a non-traditional route for her family by embracing minimalism, focusing on paying down debt, and the concept of slow travel. Now, if you haven't heard of slow travel before or a mini retirement, Melissa will explain more about that in our conversation. But if you have heard of a little book called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, which I definitely know is a New York Times bestseller, and if you haven't heard of it, I'm pretty sure that you've been living under a rock. But in the book, The 4-Hour Workweek, which, by the way, if you listen to our last episode about how to 10x your Spanish vocabulary through audiobooks, you can find the Spanish version of The 4-Hour Workweek. Even if you've already read it in English, it might be a good way to expand some of your vocabulary in Spanish, and go back and listen to episode 128 for some tips on how to do that. But in any case, in the 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss talks about this concept of a mini retirement, which means instead of just spending a week or so traveling, maybe 2 weeks, and just sort of being a tourist and coming back home, that you actually take at least a month to explore a place that you want to visit. So instead of just, I'm going to go to Miami for the weekend, or I'm going to visit Costa Rica for 7 days or 10 days, that you actually spend a significant amount of time there, get to know people a little bit more, get to experience more of the culture. So that's the idea of a mini retirement. And it's not waiting until you get to retirement in order to do some of these things. Now, I know some of you that are listening are already retired and you're thinking, oh, well, I don't have to worry about that. However, think about this concept of slow travel, which is very similar to a mini retirement. So again, Melissa will break all of that down in our conversation. It was so fascinating to talk to her. She's also been featured in Forbes magazine with her website, Traveling Wallet, which gives you all the tips that you need to get yourself in a financial position to be able to take these trips, and not in a very expensive way. Melissa is not independently wealthy. She didn't come from a very rich family, and she's just, spending money left and right. But she actually has a really interesting strategy for how she was able to do this with her family, with her husband and her 2 children. So we talk all about slow travel, as well as, for those of you who are parents out there, how Melissa has used some of these travel experiences to expose her children to Spanish, and also her partner, who is not a native Spanish speaker. So just as a heads up, this episode is in Spanish and English. So it's a little bit of a Spanglish episode. If you want to get the transcript with the translation, don't forget, you can always sign up to support our show at learnspanishconsalsa.com/support. Here is my conversation with Melissa Neacato. Gracias, Melissa. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the Learn Spanish con Salsa podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here.
Entonces, cuéntanos un poquito de ti, de dónde eres, dónde vives ahora y qué haces, a qué te dedicas.
Sí, claro. Bueno, me llamo Melissa Neacato y soy latina. Mi papá es ecuatoriano y mi mamá es salvadoreña y los dos de ellos son primera generación que se mueven a los Estados Unidos. Yo vivo en los Estados Unidos. Vivía en California por la mayoría de mi vida, pero ahora vivo en el estado que se llama Michigan. Bueno, yo estudié ingeniería mecánica y trabajé en eso por un poco de tiempo, pero ahora me estoy dedicando más tiempo a averiguar cómo ser un entrepreneur online. Estoy trabajando en eso. He aprendido mucho de topics de minimalismo y finanzas personales y ahora eso es lo que yo me dedico, es enseñar a otra gente cómo manejar sus finanzas mejor para poder hacer las cosas en su vida que quieren hacer, para no estar pasando tanto tiempo en trabajar y puedan hacer las cosas que quieren hacer con su familia, como tener viajes o, solamente, pasar más tiempo con la familia. Eso es lo que me dedico ahora.
Ay, interesante. ¿Y para ti fue difícil entrar en una carrera como emprendedora en negocios online? Porque yo sé que a veces es temeroso, ¿no? Que las personas que quieren trabajar porque están seguras que van a tener un pago cada 2 semanas o 2 veces por mes, es algo de seguridad. Entonces, ¿para ti fue difícil empezar a emprender con un negocio online?
Como dije, trabajé primero en ingeniería y lo que hicimos nosotros como familia era que guardamos mucho dinero antes de que yo tome ese salto a ser emprendedora. Sí es algo que yo todavía estoy aprendiendo mucho y todavía estoy tratando de encontrar el nivel de success que yo estoy buscando. Sí puede ser algo difícil y por eso yo hablo de las finanzas personales, porque creo que es una pieza que quieres poner en práctica para sentirte más seguro cuando haces ese salto.
Sí, porque también tú eres madre, ¿no? ¿Tienes hijos?
Sí, tengo 2 hijos. Tengo un varón que ahora cumplió 13 años y también una hija pequeña que tiene 8 años. Sí, era bien importante pensar cómo manejar las finanzas para poder hacer eso, pero eso también fue lo que me